HFY story, Elite Training, RE111, Deathworld, War, and Humanity. In the year 2115, humanity had evolved from a species struggling to survive on a fragile planet to one that had conquered the stars. But not all worlds were welcoming. Some were hostile, untamed, brutal, and unforgiving. One such world was RE111. RE111 was a death world, a planet where survival was a daily battle. Its jungles were alive with creatures that had evolved to kill, its oceans teeming with predators that could rip a person apart in seconds. Yet, it was on this planet that humanity had chosen to conduct its elite training program, the crucible for those who would become humanity's warriors. The program, known simply as elite training, was a grueling test of physical and mental endurance. Soldiers from across the human colonies volunteered for the program, knowing that failure meant death. But the reward for those who succeeded was beyond anything they could imagine: rank, honor, and the chance to serve humanity at the highest levels of the military. Among those selected was Lieutenant Maya Carver, a seasoned soldier who had fought in numerous campaigns against the alien threat. Her reputation preceded her. Yet, she was nervous. The horrors of RE111 were unlike anything she had faced before. She had heard the stories, how soldiers would break down mentally, how they would never return from the planet, or how they would return changed. The first trial was to survive the planet's hostile environment for 48 hours. Maya and her fellow recruits were dropped into the heart of the jungle, with only basic gear and their wits to rely on. The air was thick with humidity, the ground teeming with life, and every step was a risk. The recruits had to find shelter, food, and water while avoiding the apex predators that stalked the jungle. Maya moved cautiously, her experience from previous campaigns guiding her every decision. She found shelter in a high tree, using her training to set up a makeshift camp. The night was cold, and the sound of distant creatures echoed through the trees. She had to remain alert. On RE111, every moment was a test. The second trial came on the third day. Recruits were tasked with capturing and neutralizing a creature known as the Raka, a giant, serpentine predator that could blend into its surroundings with deadly precision. It was the ultimate test of patience, skill, and teamwork. Maya's squad moved together, covering each other's backs, communicating in hushed tones. They tracked the Raka for hours, its glowing red eyes appearing in the distance like twin lanterns. It was fast and lethal, but Maya had one advantage: her adaptability. After several failed attempts, she realized that the key to catching the Raka was not in overpowering it, but in outsmarting it. She used the jungle's natural resources, setting traps that would disorient the creature. In the end, it was a carefully timed strike, catching the Raka off guard, that brought the beast down. The squad emerged victorious, but at a cost. A fellow recruit had been injured during the chase. They carried him back to the base, determined to ensure that he would live. The final trial was the hardest. The recruits had to survive a full week without any external support, using only the skills they had learned on RE111. It was a test of everything: strength, strategy, and the resilience of the human spirit. Maya found herself pushed to her limits. Sleep deprivation, hunger, and the constant threat of death wore her down. Yet, it was in these moments of despair that she found the true meaning of what it meant to be human. In the face of overwhelming odds, it wasn't just physical strength that mattered, it was willpower, the ability to keep fighting, to keep going, even when everything inside her screamed to give up. By the time the final day arrived, Maya and the remaining recruits stood tall, bruised but unbroken. They had survived RE111, conquered its challenges, and emerged stronger for it. The brutal training had forged them into the elite warriors humanity needed to protect its colonies, its future, and its way of life. Maya looked out over the horizon, the sun rising over the jungle. The war was far from over, but humanity had proven its worth. It had survived, thrived, and would continue to fight. And on this death world, Maya Carver knew one thing for certain: humanity was not just a species, it was a force of nature, unstoppable and unyielding. The galaxy had better take notice. HFY story, Elite Training, RE111, Deathworld, War, and Humanity, continued. After the grueling week on RE111, the remaining recruits had earned their place in the ranks of humanity's elite, but the journey was far from over. The crucible of the Deathworld had only just begun to reveal its true purpose. Upon returning to the command center, a massive structure nestled at the edge of the jungle, Maya and the others were debriefed. They had survived, but there was no time for celebration. The real war was coming, and RE111 wasn't just a test of endurance, it was a preparation for what lay beyond the planet. Colonel Arlen, a veteran of several interstellar conflicts, stood before them. His presence was intimidating, his eyes cold as he scanned the new recruits. You've passed the first test, but you've only scratched the surface. RE111 is the crucible, but war is the fire that will forge you into weapons of humanity's future. What you've faced here is nothing compared to what you will face out there. He motioned to the large holographic map of the galaxy displayed in the center of the room. Various hotspots glowed in red, signaling ongoing conflicts, strategic points of interest, and the locations of enemy forces. Maya's eyes narrowed as she took in the data. Each planet, each system marked with crimson, represented another war zone, and each one was a place where humanity's survival was at stake. Our enemies are relentless, Colonel Arlen continued. The alien forces have been steadily encroaching on our territories. They think we're weak, they think we're divided, but we've shown them the truth on RE111. Humanity is resilient, we adapt, we evolve, and we fight. Maya could feel the weight of the words sinking in. The aliens weren't just invaders, they were a threat to everything humanity had built. The Deathworld had been a test of survival, but the war she was about to enter would be a test of their collective resolve. The recruits were briefed on their next mission, a deep space operation against the Zretha, a brutal alien race that had been waging war against human colonies for decades. The Zretha were known for their tactical genius, their mastery of bioweapons, and their ability to turn entire ecosystems into deadly battlegrounds. But the humans, forged in the fires of Deathworlds, had an advantage: their adaptability. Maya was assigned to a strike force that would infiltrate a Zretha-controlled world. The mission was simple: neutralize key targets, gather intelligence on Zretha bioweapons, and disrupt their supply chains. But Maya knew there was no such thing as a simple mission, especially when you were fighting enemies that didn't play by the rules. As her team prepared for the assault, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than just another mission. It was humanity's chance to prove that it was more than just a species struggling to survive. They were becoming warriors, leaders, and champions of the galaxy. The night before the operation, Maya sat alone, gazing out into the void. The stars twinkled, distant and cold, but in them, she saw the future, humanity's future. The universe had been a dark place for too long, but now, humanity was lighting the way. We're not just here to survive, she muttered to herself, the words tasting bitter yet true. We're here to win. The next day, the team embarked on their mission. The Zretha planet was shrouded in darkness, its surface covered by dense, toxic clouds. As the dropships descended through the atmosphere, Maya's heart pounded. The air was thick, oppressive, and the faint rumble of alien machinery echoed from the depths of the planet's surface. The infiltration was swift and brutal. Maya's squad moved through the alien landscape with lethal precision, eliminating Zretha patrols and gathering intel on their bioweapon labs. The further they ventured, the more the planet seemed alive with menace. The Zretha had mutated the flora and fauna, creating terrifying creatures that were as deadly as the aliens themselves. They reached the biolabs, where they uncovered something more disturbing than they could have imagined. The Zretha had been experimenting with human prisoners, twisting their bodies and minds into bioweapons. It was a sickening revelation, one that only fueled Maya's determination. They've crossed the line, she growled to her team. This ends now. The squad destroyed the labs and neutralized the bioweapons, but they weren't the only ones on the planet. As they made their escape, the Zretha forces closed in. Maya's team was forced to fight their way out, knowing that every moment they stayed longer meant more lives lost. In the final moments, as the extraction shuttle arrived, Maya found herself face to face with a Zretha commander, an alien unlike any she had fought before. Towering and encased in armor, the creature's eyes glowed with an intelligence that sent a chill down her spine. The battle was fierce. Maya fought with every ounce of strength she had left, using everything she'd learned on RE111 to outsmart her enemy. It was a fight of endurance, tactics, and raw willpower. And in the end, it was Maya's adaptability, her ability to think on her feet, that turned the tide. She used the terrain, the alien technology, and her squad support to bring the Zritha commander down. As the shuttle lifted off from the planet's surface, Maya looked out the window, watching the Zritha world disappear behind them. It had been a victory, but she knew this was just the beginning. Humanity had come a long way since the dark days on Earth. From Deathworlds to alien battlefields, humans had proven their resilience, and Maya Carver, once a soldier among many, now knew her true place in the universe. She was a part of something far greater, something unstoppable. The galaxy had been set ablaze by war, but humanity had come to fight, and they would not back down. HFY Story, Elite Training, RE111, Deathworld, War, and Humanity, continued. After their successful mission on Azrath-controlled world, Maya and her team returned to their flagship, the USS Vanguard. The quiet hum of the ship's engines was a stark contrast to the chaos they had just experienced, yet even in the relative peace of the vessel, Maya couldn't shake the weight of the events. The Zritha had been defeated, but they were just one faction in an endless war. As her team debriefed, Maya found herself haunted by the faces of the human prisoners they had freed on the alien planet. The twisted experiments had left scars, physical and psychological, that would never heal. Their story was just one of many humanity had to endure to protect its future. She could feel it in her bones. The war was far from over. The commander of the fleet, Admiral Rios, was waiting for them when they arrived in the war room. A veteran of countless campaigns, Rios had seen things no one should ever see. Her steely eyes were fixed on Maya and the squad, but there was an unmistakable respect in her gaze. "You did well," she said, her voice low but firm. "You've taken down a major Zritha stronghold, but their reach is vast. We've got another mission, and this one's even more critical. A new alliance of enemy forces is rising in the Outer Rim. If we don't hit them hard, they'll spread across the galaxy like a virus. They have a new weapon, something even more dangerous than the biomodified soldiers we faced." Maya felt her pulse quicken. The thought of something more deadly than the Zritha bioweapons was enough to make her stomach tighten. The galaxy had been on fire for years, but now it seemed the flame was about to grow even hotter. "You'll be leading an infiltration squad to locate and neutralize their main production facility," Rios continued. "We need answers, and we need them fast. The entire human race is counting on you." The mission was set, an attack on the heart of the new enemy alliance. The location was a remote planet, a desolate rock orbiting a dying star. It was a world of dust and ash, its surface torn apart by constant tremors and volcanic activity. There was no mercy here, only the brutal reality of survival. The enemy's facility was buried beneath the planet's surface, hidden in a network of caves and tunnels. Maya's team was ready. They had been tested by the Zritha, but this mission would push them further. The stakes were higher, and the clock was ticking. The assault began under the cover of darkness, their drop pods hurling them through the atmosphere at breakneck speeds. They landed in the barren wasteland, the tremors of the planet shaking the ground beneath their feet as they regrouped and moved out. The air was toxic, thick with sulfur and ash, and the team's visors fogged up with every breath. Maya led her squad through the caverns, her instincts guiding her every move. Every step was a potential death trap. The tunnels were narrow and winding, filled with hidden traps and automated defense systems, but the team pushed forward, their training, honed on RE111, guiding them through the chaos. They encountered resistance quickly. Alien soldiers, humanoid but with unnatural strength, emerged from the shadows, attacking with ruthless efficiency, but humanity had learned from their past wars. Maya's team used their advanced tech and superior tactics to decimate the enemies with surgical precision. There was no hesitation, no mercy. After hours of brutal fighting, they reached the core of the facility. What they discovered was even worse than they had imagined. The enemy had been developing a new type of weapon, an artificial intelligence-driven bioorganic virus. It was capable of transforming any lifeform into a mindless, controlled soldier. The technology was far beyond anything humanity had encountered. "It's worse than we thought," Maya muttered as she examined the data. "This isn't just a weapon, it's an army." Her hands clenched into fists as the reality of their mission sank in. They had to destroy everything, every bit of data, Every piece of the virus, every weapon. If this technology got into the wrong hands, the galaxy would be lost. The enemy was playing a dangerous game, one that could change the very nature of warfare. The team planted explosives throughout the facility, preparing to take out the entire complex, but just as they began to make their way to the extraction point, the enemy unleashed their new creation. The ground shook violently as the air was filled with the sound of screeching metal and the howls of the infected soldiers. The biovirus had been unleashed, and the squad was surrounded by a horde of mind-controlled enemies. It was chaos, alien soldiers, once human-like, now twisted into monstrous versions of themselves, charging in from all sides. Maya's team fought back with everything they had, but they were outnumbered. Just as all hope seemed lost, the ground beneath them cracked open, revealing a massive underground cavern filled with the virus's central core. Maya's heart raced as she realized the truth. If they didn't destroy that core, the virus would spread beyond the planet. With no time to spare, she made a split-second decision. We take it down now, or we lose everything. She motioned to her team, and they charged toward the core, fighting their way through the waves of infected. In a final, desperate move, Maya detonated the explosives at the core, sending a shockwave through the entire facility. The ground trembled as the complex collapsed in on itself, the virus's production system annihilated. As the team staggered back to the extraction point, their faces grim, Maya knew that the war was far from over. They had won a crucial battle, but there would be more, countless more, before humanity could rest. The galaxy was a dangerous place, and humanity had proven time and time again that they were willing to fight for their survival. Maya stared at the stars above, her resolve hardening with each passing moment. Humanity had come to the galaxy as survivors, but now, they were something more. They were warriors, and no enemy, no matter how powerful, could ever break them. The war would continue, and humanity would fight, against the darkness, against the unknown, and they would never surrender. HFY Story, Elite Training, RE111, Deathworld, War, and Humanity, continued. The battle for survival had just become an endless horizon of conflict. Maya Carver had been forged in the fire of RE111, tempered in the crucible of war, but she was learning a bitter truth: the fight never ended. After the destruction of the bioorganic virus facility, Maya's squad was hailed as heroes. The mission had been a resounding success, but it had come with a cost. One of their own, Sergeant Olivia Kane, had been gravely injured in the final assault. She had taken a fatal blow from one of the infected soldiers in order to ensure the explosives reached the core. It was a sacrifice that weighed heavily on Maya's heart. Kane had been the team's rock, and her loss felt like a piece of humanity's strength had been ripped away. The ship returned to the Vanguard, where the crew solemnly acknowledged their fallen comrade. Maya stood by the memorial wall, the names of the dead etched into the cold metal surface. Each one a reminder of the price of victory. Her thoughts were interrupted by the voice of Admiral Rios, who entered the room with a somber expression. "Maya, I need to speak with you." Without a word, Maya followed the Admiral to the briefing room. It was a quiet space, but the tension in the air was palpable. "We've been monitoring the enemy's movements," Rios began, sitting down at the holographic table. The star map displayed new threats, more hostile factions, more bioweapons, and rumors of even darker forces rising in the galaxy. "They're regrouping, and they're not stopping." The Zratha were just one faction, one arm of a much larger alliance. Maya leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "How big are we talking? Another war? Or something worse?" Rios met her gaze, her voice grave. "Something worse. This new force, the Zyvars, they're unlike anything we've encountered. Their intelligence is off the charts. They've started developing transdimensional technology. Essentially, they can open rifts in space, transport entire fleets across light years in seconds. If we don't stop them soon, they could reach the heart of the human colonies." The implications were staggering. The Zyvars were more than just another alien race, they were a technological nightmare. If they had the power to tear apart the fabric of space itself, humanity could be facing annihilation. There was no place safe from their reach. Maya clenched her fists, a storm brewing inside her. She had seen the alien horrors firsthand, and the thought of something even worse made her blood boil. What's our plan? Rios stood, her gaze hardening. We need to launch a preemptive strike. We can't wait for them to make their move. We'll hit their base of operations, destroy their transdimensional rift technology before they can deploy it. You'll be leading a multi-species team of elite soldiers, engineers, and tacticians. It's a high-risk mission, but it's our only chance. The plan was audacious. The Zyvar's base was located on a heavily fortified planet in the farthest reaches of the galaxy, a place that had been shielded by powerful gravitational anomalies. The human fleet was in no condition to launch a full-scale assault, so a small team of highly trained operatives would infiltrate the base, plant explosives at key points, and neutralize the rift generators. Maya and her team knew this mission would be different. It wasn't just about surviving. It was about stopping an existential threat to all of humanity. Failure was not an option. The squad was assembled. Maya's closest allies, Lieutenant Saren Thorne, an expert in alien technology, Sergeant Bex Kaito, a brutal close-quarters combat specialist, and Lieutenant Rahim Verik, a sharpshooter who had never missed a target. They would also be joined by soldiers from the allied species, VAR, a massive and nearly indestructible alien from the planet Torvex, and Alara, a quiet and calculating Zelthian who had once fought for the Zritha but now served as an ally. The mission was set into motion, and soon Maya found herself on the drop pod, staring out into the abyss of space. Her mind was sharp, focused on the task ahead, but beneath it all, there was a gnawing sense of unease. The stakes had never been higher. The galaxy itself was on the line. The drop was violent. The ship's atmosphere burned away as they descended into the hostile planet's atmosphere. The team braced themselves as their pod crashed into the planet's surface, the shockwave reverberating through their bodies. The moment the hatch opened, the team was met with a world unlike anything they had encountered before, an alien landscape filled with jagged rock formations, dense radiation storms, and an oppressive silence that hung in the air like a suffocating veil. "Stay alert," Maya ordered, scanning the terrain. "We're not alone." They moved swiftly through the treacherous landscape, their objective clear: reach the Zyvar's rift facility and destroy it before the Zyvars could launch their full-scale invasion. But the planet was anything but welcoming. Strange, biomechanical creatures roamed the terrain, guardians created by the Zyvars to protect their fortress. The team fought tooth and nail to eliminate these foes, using their unique skills and the element of surprise to their advantage. It wasn't long before they reached the edge of the fortress, a massive, spire-like structure that hummed with otherworldly energy. Maya's heart pounded in her chest as they approached the entrance. The rift generators were deep within, and time was running out. With every passing minute, the Zyvars could be preparing their fleet for an invasion. "Get ready," Maya whispered, her voice steady, though her nerves were raw. "We do this together, or we don't do it at all." The final assault was a brutal, bloody affair. They infiltrated the facility, dodging alien security systems and fighting through swarms of Zyvar soldiers. Maya's team moved like a well-oiled machine, no hesitation, no fear. It was a deadly ballet of violence and precision. Finally, they reached the heart of the rift chamber, where the Zyvar's most dangerous technology pulsed with dark energy. Maya's hands shook as she set the final charge, knowing that this was the moment. If they succeeded, the galaxy would have a fighting chance. If they failed, the consequences were unimaginable. With the timer ticking down, Maya looked over her shoulder at her team. They had made it this far together, and they would finish this together. 3 seconds, Maya said, her voice tight with anticipation. HFY story, Elite Training, RE111, Deathworld, War, and Humanity, continued. The explosion that tore through the Zyvar facility echoed across the barren planet. A brilliant flash of light illuminated the darkened skies, sending a shockwave that rippled through the planet's surface. Maya Carver, her team, and the allies they fought alongside barely escaped the cascading destruction. The ground trembled beneath their feet as the rift generators and the facility's infrastructure collapsed into itself. "Move, move," Maya shouted, signaling for her squad to retreat toward the extraction point. The Zyvar's fortress was crumbling, and with it, their transdimensional rift technology. The mission was a success, but the cost was high. They had triggered a cascade of energy feedback when the explosives detonated, destabilizing the planet's magnetic fields. The entire region was now at risk of collapsing in on itself. Their extraction shuttle was on a time limit, but it felt as though the storm was closing in faster than they could outrun it. The tremors beneath their feet grew more violent, shaking the ground like an angry beast. Lava began to surge from the planet's depths, spewing into the air as massive fractures opened wide across the terrain. "We need to move faster," Rahim Varric called, his voice strained as he sprinted ahead, eyes scanning for any sign of the shuttle. "We're not gonna make it at this rate." Bex Kaito gritted her teeth, trying to keep up, though she could feel the fatigue weighing on her. Maya pushed through the exhaustion, her instincts kicking in. "Stay focused, we make it to that ridge, just a little further." Every step felt like it could be their last. The deadly creatures that had once guarded the facility now seemed to be retreating into the planet's bowels, drawn to the seismic activity. But the real danger was the planet itself. If they didn't reach the shuttle soon, they'd be swallowed by the planet's violent upheaval. Finally, as the dark sky above them pulsed with light from the dying facility, the extraction shuttle appeared, hovering just above the jagged rocks. The door slid open, and the team rushed inside, their hearts pounding in their chests. "Go, go," Maya barked to the pilot, who was already firing up the engines. As the shuttle soared into the air, Maya glanced down at the chaotic scene below. The planet was collapsing, its surface crumbling under the pressure of the explosion. Lava flowed in great rivers, and the once impenetrable fortress that had stood for millennia was now reduced to rubble. They had done it. The Zyvar's rift technology was destroyed, and humanity had averted a crisis that could have torn the galaxy apart. But as the shuttle ascended into space, Maya's thoughts weren't on the victory. She stared at the distant stars, her mind racing. The Zyvars were only one threat. Even with their rift technology gone, the enemy alliances were growing stronger. There were others out there, and humanity couldn't afford to become complacent. A soft chime interrupted her thoughts. It was a communication coming through on the shuttle's console. Maya activated the screen, and Admiral Rios's face appeared. "Mission report," Rios said, her expression hard but satisfied. "I've received confirmation from Fleet Command. You've done well, Maya. The rift technology is gone, and the Zyvars are temporarily disabled. But this is only a temporary victory. The war is far from over. We need to stay ahead of them. I'm sending you new orders." Maya's heart skipped a beat. "What's the next step, Admiral?" Rios paused, her gaze flicking to the side, as though gathering her thoughts. "We're going on the offensive. We've identified the next major target, the Vruk, an alien race that has been manipulating the Zyvars from the shadows. They've been supplying them with weapons and reinforcements. If we take down their command structure, we might be able to turn the tide of this war." The Vruk were one of the most insidious species humanity had encountered. Silent, calculating, and cold, they operated from the shadows, controlling vast fleets of mercenaries and alien militias. If the Zyvars were the blunt force of the galaxy's war, the Vruk were its subtle hand, every move calculated, every battle planned with precision. "The Vruk?" Maya asked, her voice steady. "Where do we strike?" Rios's eyes narrowed, her tone serious. "Their central hub is on a frozen world, far from the core systems. It's heavily fortified, but we've gathered intel that suggests they are preparing to make a move on several key human colonies. We can't afford to wait for them to strike first." Maya nodded, a surge of determination flooding her. The mission was clear: infiltrate the Vruk stronghold, cripple their command structure, and prevent them from launching their next phase of attacks. "Understood, Admiral. We'll begin preparations immediately." The screen flickered off, and Maya turned to her team, who were still recovering from their narrow escape. Her squad was battle-worn but resolute. "The Vruk are next," Maya said, her voice firm. "We've taken down the Zyvars, but now we face a shadow war. We'll hit them hard, just like we've always done. We're not stopping until the galaxy is safe." The team nodded, their eyes burning with the same fire that had carried them through the trials of RE111 and the war that followed. Humanity had not only survived, it had become a force to be reckoned with, and now, it was time to take the fight to the enemy. As they prepped for the next operation, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something was stirring in the galaxy, a greater darkness, lurking just beyond the horizon. But one thing was certain: humanity would face it together. The war for the future of the galaxy was far from over, but Maya knew this. They were not just fighting to survive, they were fighting to conquer, and the Zivars, the Vruk, and every other threat had better be ready, because humanity was coming for them. And they would never back down. End of chapter.